You are not a halfway thing. You were never made to be almost loved. So why are you settling for people who only meet you halfway? Let's talk about it. There's a kind of pain of being halfway loved, the kind where someone holds your hand but never your heart, where you are good enough to text at midnight but not worth showing up for in the light of day, where you're constantly questioning, is this love or just a performance of it? And we tell ourselves to be grateful for the momentary warmth, grateful for the pieces, key. But gratitude should never be a leash that ties you to someone who can't see your full humanity. Half love is not better than no love. It's just a slower form of heartbreak. When you allow yourself to be loved halfway, you begin to chip away at your own sense of value. Peace. You laugh at things that don't feel funny. You nod at things that don't feel right. And you stay in places that make you smaller. Why? Because somewhere along the way, someone taught you that your presence is a privilege you must earn. That to be chosen, you have to shrink, soften, or stay silent. But that is not love. That is control. That is the emotional starvation diet we've normalized. Calling it love when it's really just someone rationing affection while keeping their options open. And maybe you learned this pattern early. Maybe you were raised around people who taught love through conditions, silence, or performance. Maybe you became fluent in the language of emotional negotiation. If I just do this more, be this less, hold this in longer. But let me tell you something with absolute clarity. You were never meant to beg for the bare minimum. Love does not need to be chased or bartered or survived. It needs to be rooted. It needs to be chosen. And you deserve a love that is not afraid. Stand tall next to your fire. You start to doubt the voice inside that doesn't feel right. But here's the truth. When someone gives you half, it's not because you're asking for too much. It's because they're only willing to give so little. There is nothing empowering about teaching someone how to ignore your pain by pretending it doesn't exist. And yet, we rationalize it. We say, oh, well, they're trying, or and no one is perfect, or I have my own flaws too. Yes, we all have flaws, but flaws are not excuses for someone to build a home inside your life while refusing to furnish it with care. You are not a training ground for emotional maturity. You are not an emotional rehab center for people who refuse to do their work. Love isn't something you get better at by practicing on someone else's heart until you're ready for the real thing. You are the real thing. You are the real thing. And if someone can't rise to meet you there, they don't belong in your life's most sacred spaces. To stay with someone who loves you halfway, to betray the parts of yourself that know what real love feels like. Not perfect love, but present love. Not flawless love, but honest, open, active love. Every time you accept less, you reinforce the lie you were not worthy of more. More. You always were. The real betrayal isn't theirs. It's the one that happens when you turn your back on your own soul just to keep someone else comfortable. That's the price of half love. and it's far too expensive. Sometimes we focus so much on the people who hurt us that we forget to ask the harder question: why did I stay? What part of me kept saying yes to being almost loved? What wound was I trying to soothe with their inconsistent affection? Half lovers don't just appear in our lives by accident. They are drawn to the parts of us that are still healing. They find their way in through the cracks, through the silence, through the need that hasn't yet found its voice. And instead of seeing them as red flags, we see them as familiar, comfortable even, because when chaos looks like home, calm feels like a threat. The truth most people avoid is this: we attract what we believe we deserve, not we say we deserve what we actually believe in the quiet. If deep down you carry the belief that love must be earned, that you have to prove your worth, then people who make you fight for scraps will feel like destiny. Not because they are meant for you, but because they reflect your unspoken fears back at you. And if you've never been fully loved, how could you recognize it when it finally arrives? How could you trust it when it doesn't make you ache? Half lovers mirror the parts of us that are still negotiating our value. They show up with their limitations, their emotional unavailability, their hot and cold affection, and instead of walking away, we engage. We chase. Because a part of us still believes that if we can just be good enough, calm enough, low maintenance enough, maybe this time we won't be abandoned. But healing doesn't come from convincing someone to choose you. Healing comes from choosing yourself in the presence of someone who won't. We think we're chasing love, but sometimes we're just reenacting old patterns, hoping for a different ending, hoping that this time, if we do everything right, the person will stay. And in that dynamic, we stop listening to our bodies. We ignore the tension in our chest, the tightness in our throat, the way our spirit recoils every time we silence our truth. Because we don't want to lose them. But ask yourself, who are you losing by keeping them? What parts of you have gone quiet just to keep the peace? What parts of you have stopped growing just to hold the relationship together? Every time you override your instincts to keep a half-lover close, you distance yourself from the very healing you need. You distract yourself with their chaos, their inconsistency, their drama, when the real work is inside of you. It's in the way you attach, the way you tolerate, the way you explain away your own intuition. And that's not your fault. It's survival. But what got you through the past is not what will carry you forward. You have to be willing to break the pattern. To ask yourself not just who you're attracting, but why you're still available for them. Half-lovers are not the enemy. They are the mirror. They show us where we still need to reclaim our power. They highlight the spaces where we've been too quiet, too accommodating, too afraid. And when we finally stop blaming them and start getting radically honest with ourselves, that's where the shift happens. That's where transformation begins. Because until we see the wound, we'll keep mistaking the pain for love. And we'll keep calling these patterns a chemistry when they're really just the echoes of our own unfinished healing. There is a moment quiet when you finally realize that staying is costing you, too much. That the silence after their apologies speaks louder than their words ever did. That the waiting, the hoping, the shrinking, it's all becoming unbearable. That's when the choice appears. Stay in the comfort of crumbs, or walk toward the unknown in search of wholeness. And make no mistake, leaving someone who only loves you halfway is not a soft choice. It is a radical act of self-respect. Because in a world that romanticizes endurance, choosing to stop suffering is revolutionary. We've been conditioned to equate loyalty with love, to believe that staying longer means we care deeper. But loyalty without reciprocity is not love, it's self-abandonment. You can't build a future with someone who keeps you in emotional limbo. And when you finally decide to walk away, people may call you cold, dramatic, or too much. They're not the ones carrying the weight of constant disappointment. They're not the ones crying over people who never asked what hurt. Leaving is not about cruelty. It's about choosing your sanity over someone else's convenience. We often talk about love like it's a sacrifice. And yes, real love requires effort. But there is a difference between effort and erosion. One builds, the other breaks. Staying in half love is like pouring water into a cup with no bottom. You give, and all you're left with is emptiness. Walking away means you finally understand that your energy is sacred, that your time, your softness, your presence is not something to be rationed out to people who don't honor it. That refusing to be an option is the first step to becoming your own priority. People will tell you that love is hard. But hard does not mean harmful. Difficult conversations, vulnerability, growth. Yes, that's hard. But feeling anxious all the time, questioning your worth, waiting to be chosen, that's not love. That's survival mode. You weren't born to live your life stuck in emotional survival. You were born for connection that expands you, for relationships that feel like a refuge, not a battlefield. The moment you choose yourself over that ache, the moment you say enough, you begin to write a new story where peace is the standard, not the reward. There is grief in walking away. Grief for what you hoped it could become. You'll miss them even when you know they couldn't meet you. That's okay. Missing someone doesn't mean you made the wrong decision. It means your heart is human. But do not let that longing trick you into returning to a place where you were never fully seen. Feel the grief, honor it, but let it be the ashes of an old version of you, not the chains that pull you back. You're allowed to mourn, and you're allowed to move forward at the same time. Choosing to walk away from half love is the beginning of becoming someone who no longer negotiates their worth. It's the moment you decide that your life will not be built on almosts and maybes. That you are no longer available for inconsistency dressed up as passion. That you are not here to be tolerated, but treasured. The power in that choice will shake your world, but it will also set you free. Because the moment you choose your peace over their presence is the moment you'll begin to return home to yourself. There is a truth that no one tells you when you're in the middle of a relationship that feels like it's falling apart. There is no unspoken rule that demands you sacrifice your well-being for the comfort of someone else. We've been conditioned to believe that love is about compromise, about putting the other person first, about bending until we break. But real love does not ask for that kind of sacrifice. It asks for balance, for reciprocity, for mutual care. When that is absent, the cost is too high. And it is your responsibility to recognize when the cost becomes too much. We've all been there, on the other side of a relationship where it feels like you're the only one doing the work. You're the only one reaching out, making the effort, trying. You're the only one who believes that love should look like something more than a series of emotional transactions, but it's exhausting. And eventually, you begin to wonder if you're chasing something that was never there. There's a point in every relationship where you have to ask yourself, am I fighting for love, or am I fighting to stay in a relationship that was never meant to be? The difference between those two questions is everything. One leads you to healing. The other keeps you stuck in a cycle of self-neglect. Leaving doesn't mean you failed, but it often feels like you're walking away from everything about love. You'll be tempted to second-guess yourself, to believe that walking away is the easy choice, the cowardly choice. But the easy way is never the path of self-respect. Staying where you're not wanted, where your needs aren't met, where spirit is dimming, that's the cowardice. It takes strength to admit that love doesn't have to be this way. It takes courage to believe you deserve more, even when it's scary, to step away from the familiar. And it takes an immense amount of love for yourself to walk toward what you know will fill you up, instead of staying in a place that keeps draining you. The hardest part about leaving is the fear of the unknown. You might feel like you're losing everything, that you'll never find love again, that walking away means you're giving up on something great. But here's the truth. You are never giving up on love. You are giving up on an illusion. You're not walking away from a real connection. You're walking away from a pattern of unfulfilled promises and empty gestures. Walking away is not about closing yourself off from love. It's about saying a no to the kind of love that isn't really love at all, and that opens you up to a love that will see you, honor you, and meet you where you are. The world will tell you that love is about sacrifice. It will try to convince you that staying in something that isn't serving you is a badge of honor. It isn't. It's martyrdom. True love should make you feel whole, should elevate you, should hold you with the tenderness that you've always deserved. And if someone cannot do that for you, it is not your job to teach them. Your job is to protect your heart, to defend your peace, and to choose yourself every time. Because choosing yourself is not selfish, and is an act of preservation. It is a declaration that you know your worth, and you will not settle for anything less than the love that reflects that. We often think that leaving means admitting defeat, but leaving means that you are choosing a better future for yourself. You are choosing a life that isn't defined by scarcity, by lack, or by waiting. You are choosing the courage to step into a new chapter where you get to write the rules. And in doing so, you break free from the chains of half-love, from the idea that you are somehow incomplete without someone else. You are already whole. You have always been whole. And walking away is a powerful act of claiming your completeness in a world that tells you to shrink, settle, and make do with less. We often mistake missing someone for loving them. It's easy to confuse the ache of longing with the authenticity of love, especially when your heart is wrapped up in someone who can't meet you where you need to be. Missing someone doesn't mean they were the right person for you. It simply means your heart still carries the imprint of them, the memories, the moments. The potential doesn't feed you. Memories don't heal you. The past can never provide the nourishment that your soul needs in the present. And while the ache is real, it does not define who you are or what you're meant to have. The first thing you need to understand when you leave behind someone who cannot love you the way you deserve is that missing them is not a failure. It's a sign of your heart's capacity to care. But feeling the loss doesn't mean you have to return to the thing that was never meant for you. Missing someone is normal. Grieving what you thought the relationship could have been is natural, but the only way forward is to honor that grief, to sit with it, to let it move through you. Because on the other side of grief is the freedom to love without compromise. And that is what you're truly missing, your own ability to love freely and fully without the weight of We live in a world that often tells us to hold on to love at all costs, to never let go, to fight for the relationship, even when it's draining us. But the truth is, love doesn't work that way. It is not a reflection of your inability to love, but rather a reflection of their inability to truly appreciate what you offer. It's incredibly painful to come to terms with the fact that someone you deeply care for cannot give you the love you need. When you realize that despite everything you've done, they simply are not capable of showing. This kind of realization often comes with a feeling of deep loss, not just for the person, but for the version of the relationship you thought you could build together. It's the loss of a dream, a future, an idealized vision of what could have been. But this grief is necessary. It's the grief of releasing something that was never truly meant for you, something that was only ever going to bring you more heartache. And while it hurts to let go, it's in this painful surrender that you create space for something far more fulfilling. Choosing to walk away from someone who cannot meet you in the fullness of who you are is an act of self-preservation. It is not selfish. It is self-respect. It is recognizing that your emotional well-being is not negotiable. So many people stay in relationships hoping that if they just wait long enough, things will change. But change cannot come from one side alone. You going all the way. You cannot make someone else see you, hear you, love you fully if they are not willing to meet you there. And by staying in this cycle of unrequited effort, you lose sight of your own value. You lose yourself in the hopes of something that will never manifest. Walking away allows you to reclaim your worth, to step back into your own power, and to say, I am enough, just as I am. The fear of walking away often stems from the belief that you will never find someone who will love you the way you want to be loved. It's a fear that makes you cling to half love, to inconsistent affection, to the scraps of connection that you're given. But here's the truth. Staying in a relationship where you're not valued or appreciated does not protect you from loneliness. Guarantees it. Because nothing feels lonelier than being with someone who refuses to meet you in the depths of your heart. The right person for you will show up. They will show you the kind of love that you never have to question. The kind of love that will feel like home. And you can only invite that person in when you create space by letting go of the people who will never give you that kind of love. Ultimately, walking away from half love is about honoring the love that you have for yourself. It is about recognizing that you are worthy of being cherished in a way that makes you feel whole, valued, and seen. It's about knowing that you do not need to settle for someone who cannot give you the kind of commitment, attention, and care that you deserve. And while walking away may feel like an ending, it is actually a beginning. The beginning of choosing yourself, of knowing that your heart is precious and deserves to be held with the utmost care. Every step you take away from half love is a step closer to the love that will honor you fully. And that love starts within. The most painful part of being in a relationship with a half lover is not the lack of affection. It's the constant questioning of your worth. You start to wonder, what is wrong with me? Why am I not enough? These thoughts are devastating because they attack the core of who you are. When you are constantly giving and not receiving in return, your mind begins to distort reality. You start to believe that their inability to fully love you is a reflection of your own inadequacy, as if you're the one who is broken or unworthy. But this is a lie. Their failure to meet you where you need to be met has nothing to do with you and everything to do with them. You are enough. You've always been enough. The problem lies in their inability to see your worth, not in your inability to be loved. The truth is, when you settle for half love, you teach yourself to believe that love must always come with strings attached. You begin to accept behavior that is less than you deserve, thinking it's all you're worthy of. You excuse the inconsistency, the emotional withdrawal, the lack of effort, convincing yourself that these things are just part of the relationship. But this cycle robs you of your own self-respect. You lose sight of what healthy love should feel like, and before long, you're numb to the things that used to matter. The compliments that never come, the promises that are never kept, the emotional support that never materializes. These things begin to feel normal, but they are not normal. They are the subtle ways in which you are being diminished, and they should never be accepted as part of love. This is why the most powerful thing you can do for yourself is to learn to walk away. Bear kind of relationship. Walking away is not just about ending things with the person who has failed to meet your needs. It's about breaking the cycle of accepting less than what you deserve. It's about teaching yourself that you are worthy of love that is stable, consistent, and full of depth. When you stop settling for half love, you begin to teach yourself that you no longer need to compromise your self-worth for the sake of holding on to something that was never truly for you.
And this is when the real work begins.
Walking away doesn't just mean leaving a person. It means choosing yourself, choosing your healing, and choosing the love that will bring you the peace and fulfillment you deserve. The beauty of this decision is that it opens up the possibility of true intimacy. We often think that in order to have love, we must settle for what is available to us, even if it doesn't fully meet our needs. But real love is not a compromise. It's an expansion. It's the space where two people come together, both able to be themselves, both able to be vulnerable and seen. When you allow yourself to walk away from half-love, you create space in your life for a relationship that is not defined by scarcity or lack, but by abundance and mutual respect. This new space allows you to attract the kind of love that will encourage you to grow, to thrive, and to be your most authentic self. It's also important to recognize that walking away from half-love is not a rejection of the person, but a rejection of the dynamic you trapped in. About denying the good parts of the relationship, but about acknowledging that those good parts were not enough to outweigh the emotional turmoil, the self-doubt, and the fear of never being fully seen. You are allowed to walk away from relationships that take more from you than they give, and it doesn't mean you didn't love them. It simply means you are no longer willing to love them at the expense of yourself. Love should never be a sacrifice of your self-worth, and by choosing to walk away, you are reclaiming the power that you may have lost along the way. Ultimately, by choosing to walk away, you are choosing to honor the deepest part of who you are. You are telling yourself that you are not here to be someone's second choice, that you are not here to be the one who is always chasing after affection that is never fully given. You are worthy of love that celebrates you, that acknowledges your worth every single day, that shows up in a way that leaves you feeling valued and safe. Walking away from half-love is not an act of anger, but an act of empowerment. It's about recognizing that you have the right to be loved deeply, fully, and without hesitation. And by choosing to step into that truth, you create a life where you no longer settle for less than you deserve. When you walk away from half-love, you are not just leaving a person behind. You are choosing to honor yourself, to protect your heart, and to step into a future where love is not a compromise, but a celebration. You are telling the universe, am worthy of more. I am worthy of a love that sees me, values me, and holds me in my entirety. This journey is not easy. It's filled with pain, with questions, with moments of doubt. But as you walk through the fire of letting go, you will emerge stronger, clearer, and more aligned with the love you truly deserve. You don't have to settle. You don't have to stay in relationships that drain you or dim your light. You don't have to hold on to people who cannot see your worth. The love you deserve is out there, waiting for you. And the only thing standing between you and that love is the courage to let go of what no longer serves you. So take that step. Trust that by walking away from half-love, you are making room for a love that will fill you, not break you. And a love that will make you whole. You are not incomplete. You are not broken. You are whole just as you are. And the right love will find you when you choose to stand in the fullness of who you are, unapologetically, without fear. Let go of the half-lovers, the ones who can't give you what you deserve. And in doing so, you'll open the door to a future that is rich with the kind of love that will make every sacrifice, every heartbreak, every painful goodbye worth it. Now is the time to choose you, to choose a love that will meet you in your entirety, and to never settle for less.